Hello, Hamburg. How you guys doing? I hope you had your coffee outside. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation from Antonia, from the entire D3Con team to come. It's the second time I come. I think first one is 2020, maybe. Yeah, and now this year. Super excited to be here. I love having the opportunity to come to Hamburg and talk to you guys. I don't speak German. So this will be in English with a bit of a Brazilian accent on the background because I'm Brazilian. And I don't speak German, but I could understand that you have to scan a QR code to ask me questions towards the end. We'll have like 10, 15 minutes at the end. And if you use the platform, just log your question. Don't be shy. I think that a lot of the value of these presentations is on the interaction that you can have. Also, you can just watch the presentation on YouTube. So don't be shy and log your questions there. I also understood that there is a beer pong tournament, which really piqued my interest for the day. And I understood my name, and thanks for the kind intro about the work that I do. For the ones that don't know me, like I'm Fernando Machado. I've been working in marketing basically like my whole life. I started my career in Unilever. I was in Unilever for 18 years, 18. When I speak that out loud, it does sound like a long time. It never felt that long. I was moving countries. I was moving brands. I started in Brazil. I worked in Mexico. I worked in New York. I worked in London. And then did like awesome things there. I'm very proud of the work that I led for the Dove brand. I was here in Hamburg a couple of times because our office in Germany is here. I think it's close to the Opera House. I always try to come around Christmas to go to the Christmas market. That was my trick to come to Hamburg. And like I'm super proud of the work I did for Dove. We did real beauty sketches back in the day. This is more than 10 years ago, but maybe you still remember that. And then after such a long period in Unilever, I decided to make a change. I wanted to experience like a different culture, a different organization. And I moved from London to Miami. I joined Burger King. Back in the day, it was just Burger King. I was always a big fan of the Burger King brand, but felt they were not doing such a good job at that stage. And I went there with the ambition of trying to take Burger King back to the good old days of Crispy Porter, which has done amazing things like Sub-Serving Chicken, Whopper Freakout, lots of really cool stuff that I grew up in marketing looking up to. So I went to Burger King. Burger King became Restaurant Brands International because we acquired Popeyes and Tim Hortons. I was there for a little bit over 7.5 years, and then decided to do something that was purely digital. I did a lot of digital transformation in Unilever and at RBI, but consumer goods and QSR fast food, they are not necessarily like digitally native. I'm a big fan of video games, and I wanted to tell my mom that all that video game that I played paid off somehow. So I moved from RBI to Activision Blizzard. For the ones who don't know Activision Blizzard, they do games like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo, Candy Crush, and it was an awesome experience. I think that I was doing a bit of programmatic and digital media for sure in Unilever and RBI, but Activision Blizzard was truly the next level, and I would touch here and there about that. And then after a little bit over 2 years on Activision Blizzard, I also wanted to have an experience working on a startup. I always worked with a mindset of startup mindset, but what the hell did I know, right? I mean, I never worked on a startup before. So I knew about NotCo for a while. NotCo is a company that was born in Latin America. I am from Latin America. I was already partnering with them when I was at Burger King. And I will talk a little bit about them in a second to explain some of the work around AI. But what they basically do is they use AI to create elevated plant-based products. So just bear with me. I will explain what the hell that means in a second. Today, I'm an advisor for NotCo. I do a lot of work on private equity with a private equity group from the US. I'm an advisor for different brands. I'm on the board for Braze, which does a lot of performance marketing and consumer engagement. So I'm really excited to be here to share a little bit of the work that I've done, that I've led with these companies. The presentation is called Think of a Color That Doesn't Exist because, believe it or not, I used to think about that as a kid. Like I was always like a bit of a weird person. Like I always had this quantitative side, but also a creative side to me. Like most people don't know, but I studied engineering. I'm a mechanical engineer, but I was always like sitting at the back of my class, not paying much attention to the classes and drawing and making jokes. And so I was always the guy who did all the T-shirts for the classes, like in college, in high school. And I used to think about that. How can I think of a color that doesn't exist? And for obvious reasons, that's not possible, right? Maybe it is possible, and that's kind of like a little bit of the message that I will try to land on how how the stuff that we can do with artificial intelligence can allow us to do things that one by himself or by herself would deem to be impossible. And I will start, because I said that I was an engineer, I will start with a little math experience. I promise it's not going to be boring, and it's going to be like really short and sweet. But I was talking, like on my first months at NotCo, I spent a lot of time with the AI team and with the R&D team to understand the technology. I'm a bit of a geek myself, and I love to get into fully or understand as much as I can the technology. And I remember talking to Adit. Adit is kind of like our vice president for AI at NotCo. And he was trying to explain to me the benefits of using AI on product development. And the way he did it was by asking me this question. So he looked at me and said, Fur, people call me Fur, okay? Fur, how many combinations can you make if you have to choose 10 ingredients of a database of 1,000 ingredients? And I took the question seriously. So I started to do, trying to remember how to do probability and combination. And I gave him an answer. It was the wrong answer, but because I forgot to discount the repeated combinations. So he reminded me that the formulation for N choose K or 1,000 choose 10, right, is this one. And when you do the math, you get the right answer is this answer, 2.6 times 10 at 23, which is very hard for us humans to conceptualize how large that number is, right? So I brought some proxies here for you to get an idea, right? So that number is larger than the number of stars in the Milky Way. That number is larger than the number of grains of sand on Earth. God knows who calculated the number of grains of sand on Earth, but if you Google, that's the number that comes up with on Google. That number is larger than the number of seconds that elapsed from the Big Bang till now. Yeah, just so you get the picture of how big that number is. And of course, like us skepticals will say, okay, Fernando, but when we are developing a formulation, it's not that you're going to try ingredients at random. Yes, I know that, but here is just for you to conceptualize how complex even a simple problem can be, right? Reality is that the database of ingredients from NotCo, and this is one company, is way larger than 1,000 ingredients. Okay, so even I'm oversimplifying the problem, and still I'm getting to an incredibly large number. And I love this. This is also something that Ajit said. So far, think about this. If you create one formulation per second, which usually takes way longer than that, right? Because you need to create the formulation, you need to try the product, you need to run a stability test to see if the product is going to be stable, and so on and so forth. But let's say that the whole process takes 1 second, right? We would still not have time if you were working 24/7 since the Big Bang, right? So it's basically impossible. And that's kind of like the mindset that Matthias, who is one of the founders, the main founder of the company, came up with. He was thinking, he always felt that the food industry is rather inefficient in terms of the environmental footprint, in terms of how products are developed. It takes too long. Look, I mean, I work in Unilever for 18 years. And like, it would take me a good 2 years to develop average complexity product. Not just in food, but also in personal care. It takes time for regular companies to do stuff. So he felt, well, maybe if we had a blank sheet of paper and we used AI to power that development, we could do things faster. And the way he conceptualized it was never AI by itself. It was always AI plus humans equal a more efficient product in terms of how you develop and in terms of the product output. And the mindset from the beginning, and that's why the company is called NotCo. NotCo is a short for the Not Company, which is kind of funny because I grew up in marketing learning that we should talk about what the product offers and not about what is not in the product. And in NotCo, all the products are called not. So we have like not mayo, not chicken, not burger. It's all not. Even the name of the company is the Not Company. And the philosophy of why not and approaching things as a challenger brand is truly ingrained on absolutely every single thing we do. If you go to the website, this is what's written there, which I find a little bit boring. Please don't tell them that I said that. But it's kind of like a little bit dry, especially when I know the personality of the company. So the way I like to explain this is differently. Like the way I explain it is first by introducing the AI that we have, which was developed in-house by people way smarter than I am. Like our founder that's kind of like concentrated in AI was a post-PhD in astrophysics using AI. So it's not really about food. It's about how you do things with AI. Adit, who I mentioned before, who is the vice president for AI, I mean, you look at the CV of the guy, it's like he was at NASA for a couple of years, right? I don't know many people that work with me that have worked for NASA before. And so they developed this AI, which we call Giuseppe. It's kind of like a funny story. Well, not funny, but like interesting story. Giuseppe is named after an Italian painter from the mid-1500s called Giuseppe Archimboldo. He used to do, you've probably seen this, like these portraits with fruits and vegetables, like, and you have like this beautiful portrait. If you Google and you look at the image, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's basically like creating art with plants, and that's why the AI for NotCo is called Giuseppe. And in the beginning, and I say in the beginning because the approach continued to evolve. Sorry, let me see if I can play that because it's a nice animation. One more try. Can you play that one for me? From the table? Yeah, I don't know why. When I click, it's switching. The previous one, that one. Yeah. Anyway, it's all good. Like, it's not a video with audio. It was just a nice animation. So in the beginning, what we used to do was basically like, we would get the animal-derived product. So let's say an ice cream, right? And then we would take that product to our laboratory. We would do like a chromatography analysis to see what were the spikes in terms of the molecules that are in the formulation. We would test physical properties, like how the product spreads, how the product breaks, what does it take for the product to drip. So we would do like a bunch of tests on the real original product that's animal derived. We would feed all that to Giuseppe, and Giuseppe would spit out 5 different recipes. Okay, our chefs would take the recipes, go to the lab, to the kitchen. They would prepare the recipes, and they would go and give feedback to Giuseppe. So they would go to Giuseppe and say, Giuseppe, the number 3 is the best one of these 5. Then the AI would take that information, create 5 new recipes, and give 5 new recipes to the chefs. The chefs would go prepare the recipes and give feedback to the AI. And it converges very quickly into the target. Yeah. And as I'm saying, like, this is how it started. And I will explain in a second, if you bear with me, like where we are today. But the good thing about this approach, on top of being way faster, right? I've seen, and I will talk about that in a second, I'm preempting my own presentation. I've seen NotCo developing formulations in like 2-3 days, okay? Something that would probably take to develop a prototype at least 6 months, like in a regular CPG. And Giuseppe is agnostic about ingredients, right? So the milk from NotCo has ingredients such as cabbage, pineapple, right? Which us humans with our biases, we would probably not choose cabbage as an ingredient to have on the milk, right? So on the, you have 1,000 and you need to choose 10, we would probably not, on our 10, we would probably not pick cabbage to create milk. And maybe it would not lead to the best result because our bias would influence the output. I remember when I was on Activision Blizzard, and I think it's a funny exercise to share, especially because we're going to talk so much about programmatic during the day. We like to launch a game, like when we launched Diablo, I don't know if there are video game players here, but we launched Diablo last year, Diablo 4, and just the product, we prepare 3,000 different performance marketing assets, 3,000, okay? And this is in the beginning of the launch. Like at the end, we had like 15, 20,000 different assets because we kept improving them. I remember we used to do an exercise, which was, and I'm talking, like the people that I'm talking about are people that are really well trained in marketing, that have worked in marketing their whole careers. But we would put all the 3,000 assets on a wall, okay? And we would invite the marketing team to come to this meeting room, and we would say, guys, pick 10 assets out of the 3,000 that you think are going to perform on the top 10% in terms of converting to purchase. And I was part of that, and I would go there and look at all the assets. I'm like, oh, I like this visual with this headline. Oh, I like this call to action. And I would choose, I would like bet or vote on the 10 assets that I thought would perform top 10%, which out of 3,000, you need to pick at least one of your 10 needs to fall on the 300 that are top 10%, right? Do you know how many times I pick one asset that belongs to the top 10%? During my 2 years there, we will do that exercise quite often. Never. I never picked one that was on the top 10%, which to me like just shows how sometimes incapable we are if you compare us to the right algorithm, the right approach in terms of machine learning, the right approach in AI. And I think we need to be humble about that. You know, like, no, AI was not doing it all. We were still creating the assets to be to be deployed by AI and to be optimized throughout the process. So it was always a combination of AI and people. But the final outcome was way better than if it were just people. So as I was saying, this is the not milk, right? Cabbage, pineapple, probably ingredients that I would not choose. In terms of environmental footprint, as most plant-based products, it beat the hell out of the animal-derived product, right? It's much more efficient in terms of environmental footprint. Here I'm showing water usage and CO2 generated, but I could pick energy, I could pick anything really, and it would be stronger. This is not chicken. Like it's one of my favorite products on the NotCo portfolio. And here again, one of the ingredients of not chicken is the strawberry. I would probably not pick strawberry as an ingredient to create plant-based chicken, but reality is that that's one of the ingredients that's key and essential to the formulation of that product. And again here, a much better environmental footprint than regular chicken. So this is the work that NotCo started to do, right? To use AI to match to an animal target, so which basically means that we are creating something that's much better when it comes to environmental sustainability. We are creating a product that basically doesn't have the animal as part of the equation. And I think that one of the challenges that we have is like how to communicate that in an interesting way, in a fun, not necessarily fun, but like in a way that will command attention and that will stand out. And I will show you 2 campaigns since it's Advertisers Day. Like I cannot not show like some of the communication that we are doing to support these launches, right? One is based in a very like urban insight, right? I mean, I grew up in big cities. Most of the consumers, at least in the US, for this type of product. They live in large urban centers, right? And for most of those people, they probably grew up without ever seeing an old animal, right? I mean, they never saw an old cow or an old pig or an old chicken. Maybe in Europe you have more access to that type of thing, or even in Latin America where I come from, but in the US it's very rare on the large urban centers like New York, LA, for people to have ever seen one of those old animals. And the reason for that is because they have a much shorter lifespan in the industrialized food world, right? In the case of the pig, natural lifespan up to 23 years. Usually in the meat industry, the lifespan is 12 months. Cow, natural lifespan up to 49 years. Meat industry, 20 months. And chicken, natural lifespan up to 13 years. And in the meat industry can be as short as 47 days. So we wanted to bring this to life, to call attention to the fact that we are creating products that don't have the animals. So what we did, and I think it's a good example of the use of AI to create marketing assets, right? I mean, this is a company that create all its products using AI, right? So the more we can also use AI in the marketing assets, it helps us tell the story, which doesn't mean that every single marketing asset that we do will be built with AI, because that's not the idea, right? The idea here is to communicate as best as we can. If and when it makes sense with the idea, we use AI. So we basically created the images of the old animals, let's say, and to land the point that, and I increased the copy size here for you guys to be able to see. Have you ever seen an old pig? Probably not. In the food industry, the pig can live as little as 25 weeks, despite living decades in nature. So we had to use AI to create the image, just like we do with our food, right? And then it explains what NotCo is doing with the food. We have the cow, we have the chicken, and this is a case study that shows the impact of the campaign. I will play this one for you. Hopefully it's going to work. This one has sound. I'll try it again. This one they will understand because everything it has supers, but the next video without sound, it's not going to work. So I think you got the idea, right? So it was basically us using AI to make a point and to demonstrate that that we don't have animals as part of our equation. I will skip the next one and I will go back to it later on. I will go back to this because the guys are trying to fix the sound. Yeah, so the next one is actually really cool, but it's a song, so it doesn't make sense if I play without the sound. The whole thing is a music video. But hopefully we'll be able to go back to that one. And naturally, when you are doing things like this, and I think it's very common in Europe to have the kind of the animal-derived industry or the traditional industry coming after you, right? I've seen many cases here in Europe with Oatly and other brands that are constantly like arguing with the traditional players. And it's not different in the case of NotCo. I really like this example, so that's why I included here. Like in Chile, and remember, like NotCo was born in Chile, so the brand is quite strong there. In Chile, we were sued by the milk producers of a specific region in Chile, which is the region that is known for producing milk. And they were saying that our product was misleading to consumers because we were trying to portray that our product was real milk, which is kind of funny because the product is called not milk, right? When people understand the word milk, they probably also understand the word not, which is together in the name. And they basically, like during a period of time, they were asking to prohibit us from advertising. So we came out with an entire campaign, which was a print campaign and out of home, where we were basically like using the copy of the lawsuit as copy of our campaign, because we thought, well, I mean, we are advertising the lawsuit, so they probably cannot do a lawsuit on us for advertising the lawsuit, right? And that's what we did. I mean, it was huge in Latin America, especially in Chile. It helped increase sales. It actually helped us win the cause in court because we won when we went to court. And I'm very proud of this one because it's the first lion that NotCo has ever won. And so we got a gold lion and a silver lion in Cannes last year with We Didn't Write This campaign, which was the campaign I just showed to you guys. The other benefit, like moving back to the product side of the equation, the benefits, right, I mean, of AI in the development process, like I mentioned that before, it really allows us to move fast. And the more we use AI, the faster we become. The first product that NotCo developed, which was Not Mayo, it took us 18 months to develop. One of the last ones that we launched, which is at the bottom there, which is a custard, which is kind of like an ice cream that we did with Shake Shack. Shake Shack is a very large brand. I don't know if they are present here in Germany, but it's like very large brand in the US. It's growing geographic presence outside of the US, premium burger chain. We developed their custard, which is kind of like an ice cream, and their shake. It's co-branded. So every time we develop something with a partner, whether it's Burger King or Shake Shack or Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, we have partnerships with all of those guys. It's always co-branded, right? And the benefit for those guys is that we can hit a very specific nutritional target, cost target, operational targets in terms of the formulation, and taste, right? Taste is really the key thing. Taste tends to be the biggest barrier for plant-based products, right? I mean, I think we all, at some point in our lives, have had a not so great experience with a plant-based product because of taste. Today, the technology has evolved so much that you don't have that anymore as much. We are always benchmarking against the animal target and against the number one product in terms of sales in the plant-based category, and it always has to be parity to the animal and superior to whatever plant-based option is out there. And that's why, as I said before, we have so many partnerships with other brands. You know, the brands can really benefit from this approach. You know, they are not used to develop products in the plant-based space. They are not used to develop stuff in such a fast pace. We have a joint venture with Kraft Heinz, which again just shows the power of the technical approach using AI. So imagine that NotCo, which is a startup, is developing every single one of the Kraft Heinz key products, developing the plant-based version of those products. And as you can see, it's co-branded on the front of pack, which is a huge deal, right? For us as a startup, like we are tiny in comparison to Kraft Heinz. And for them, it really helps them with the credibility in terms of the technology and the products that they are offering. This is one of my favorite products that we launched like 2-3 months ago. not mayo, so it's a mayo without eggs, right? I mean, there is no animal product on the mayo. It's impossible to tell the difference to regular mayo. Like, I think in some products I can still tell the difference. Like beef, I can tell the difference. Chicken, way less so. Mayo, I promise you, it's completely impossible to tell the difference. And again, because I'm a startup, I need to do things in a way that will stand out. Is the sound working now? Can I try? No. This one only works with sound too. So I will skip the second video, guys. And hopefully I'll be able to show it later on. And that video is hilarious, and I really want to show it. So because of the work we are doing with them, Kraft Heinz was like ranked number 2 most innovative company of 2023 by Fast Company, and truly is because of this partnership. If you go in the article from Fast Company, you see that's all about how innovative the use of AI to develop products has been, and how many of these products that we're bringing to the marketplace are considered to be super innovative. But as I said, like everything that I described to you, or most of the things that I described to you so far, is kind of like how it started, which is not necessarily what has me the most excited when it comes to the technology. The reality is that one of the things I've learned is that the more we work with AI, the more we learn, and the more we realize that we can do things that we never thought we would be able to do. I think that in the beginning, we're always targeting, let's do something that is as good as the animal product. But in reality is that target limitation was imposed by ourselves. We can brief the AI to create products that have a better nutritional profile, that have a different taste, that have a different cost target, that have like anything really as you want. One of the things that I was really excited was like when the guys started to integrate generative AI to product development, right? Because in the past, it was always like, hey, I want to hit these variables of like of the animal milk. But the reality is that with generative AI, as an example, integrated on product development, I can go to Giuseppe and say, Giuseppe, I want to create a flavor of milk that tastes like a unicorn jumping on a cloud with a rainbow in the background. And Giuseppe will give you that flavor, and then we'll do the same thing. 5 people will try, or we can do even a consumer panel to see if people agree that milk is tasting like a unicorn jumping on a cloud with a rainbow in the background. But we can do stuff like that, Just like if you go to Midjourney and you ask to see an image that's the way I describe it, Midjourney will give you an output. So we train Giuseppe to do those things. So an example that I like is one of the limitations that milk that's not 100% animal-derived has, or with high fat content, is that it doesn't foam so well, right? If you do latte art, which is a really good way to demo how well the milk foams. If you do with Oatly, which is a great brand, great product, and a 2% milk, you don't get to a great latte art, So we literally have used Giuseppe to optimize for latte art, which is, at least on my mind, is like mind-blowing to use AI to optimize for something like that. And this is the milk we launched in the US a couple of months ago. The barista version of our Not Milk, which was optimized to develop great latte art with a panel of baristas. And not only that, like I could go on and on and on about all the product claims we were able to land in the development of that product. And all of them come from a brief to AI. We would not be able to achieve this if it were not because of the partnership between humans and our AI. Another example that I really like from Brazil, this is a product that is massive, like market share in Brazil. It's a product from Danone. It's a great product. It's a product that's very focused on people who are trying to gain like muscle and reduce fat. Like most people that are in that category in Brazil, they are going to the gym like 3-4 times a week. They they read the back of pack. You know what I mean? Like they know like how many calories the product has, how many carbs, how much fat. And it's funny because we were looking at the back of pack for this product in Brazil, and someone on the team said, well, I mean, the main claim of this product is the level of protein, but isn't it funny that they actually have more carbs than protein on the product, right? As you can see there, it's written in Portuguese, but I think you can understand. Like 15 grams of proteins and 19.25 grams of carbs. And the reason for that is that in Brazil and in most countries, there is a legislation that controls the percentages that you need to have in terms of carbs and proteins for something to be called milk, right? But in our case, we don't have to follow that because we are not real milk, we are plant-based. So we briefed AI to create a product that completely breaks that equation, right? So our product that we develop has the same 15 grams of protein, but it has only 3.5 grams of carbs. Remember, the Danone product had 19.25. And this is a massive deal for that target audience. And again, it was done that way because that's how we briefed AI, to create something that at first we thought wouldn't be possible because the whole market has a completely different equation in terms of product development. And to announce that, remember, we are a startup and we do things in a way that needs to stand out. So what we did was we went in the main business center of Brazil, the main business street in Brazil, which is in São Paulo. It's called Avenida Paulista, and projected in an entire building in front of the Danone building. We projected that, which reads, larger than this ad, only the amount of carbs of YoPro. Okay, and it has a QR code that when you scan, it shows you the comparison between the two products, which is a big deal for consumers in Latin America. This video doesn't have sound, fortunately, so you can just kind of like see what we did there. One more example of creating something that doesn't exist, right? And this one is from Chile. This is the protein bar category is a category which is already plant-based, right? Most products in this category, they are plant-based. The formulation is 100% plant-based. So when we thought, like historically, plant-based companies are always thinking, how can I disrupt a category that is animal-derived, right? And then in most cases, those companies, they create a product which is the same or tries to be almost the same as the animal product, but doesn't have any animal on the formulation. But in our case, because we are briefing AI to do more than just matching to the animal target, we can disrupt categories which are plant-based or not. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? And I think if you ask me, Fernando, what do you think the future of plant-based is? In my view, that is the future of plant-based, to create products that have an amazing taste or a unique, different taste, the unicorn example, that have a better nutritional profile, that have a better cost, that are environmentally sustainable, and it happens that they are plant-based. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like plant-based by accident. It's not, I don't necessarily think that people are going to buy just because it's plant-based. There will be people who will, but for the vast majority of people who are flexitarians or who simply don't care, I want them to buy because it tastes great, has a better nutritional profile, has a better cost, has a different taste, by the key drivers of the category, right? Being plant-based or not is not necessarily a key driver of the category. And this is an awesome example. Like most of the cereal bars, I cannot speak about Germany or Europe, but like in Latin America, most cereal bars, they have a very high level of sugar. Yeah. And it's kind of like trapping you like in a vicious cycle. Like you eat those bars as kind of like a snack option, right? Between meals. You eat, it gives you satisfaction, immediate satisfaction. You have a sugar spike, then you have a sugar crash, and everything that I'm saying, you can measure with a glucose monitor, which is what we did. We did a whole clinical study to prove the point. And then you are hungry again, right? So we wanted to formulate a product, and I'm not going to bore you too much with the technology, but we wanted to formulate a product that had more protein, that didn't have stamps. In Latin America, if you have too much sugar or too much fat, you need to have a warning stamp, like cigarettes, like in the product. And most of the cereal bars do have those stamps, so our product doesn't have. And we use a type of sugar which doesn't give you a sugar spike, right? So as you can see there on the graph, the green is how a typical glucose in blood would behave. You have a sugar spike and then you have a sugar crash. In our case, it's much more stable, so you don't go through that. You don't get trapped in that vicious cycle. And again here, this is another example of something that we couldn't do without the help of AI. We were not able to create the right foam for latte without the help of AI. We were not able to create a product that has a completely different equation between proteins and carbs without the help of AI. We were not able to create a cereal bar that doesn't give you a sugar spike and that has higher level of protein than most of the other bars out there, that doesn't have warning stamps without the use of AI. And it was not by accident. We programmed all those outputs into Giuseppe, and then we work with Giuseppe to be able to accomplish the product. This is the product that we launched around 4 months ago in Latin America. And again here, because it's NotCo and because our development process is anchored in AI, we use AI to help us with some design inspiration. And again, it's not AI replacing people. We haven't fired anyone because we are using more AI than other companies. It just allows us to do more. You know what I mean? So we could happily prototype design. We could create design that's very unique and different, that feels very AI, feels very techy, because that's what's behind that design. Yeah, and I think we will continue to evolve. And if I were doing this presentation a year ago, I would not have any of the 4 examples that I presented to you. And they were all created over this past 12 months. A year ago, I didn't know that Giuseppe would be able to do some of the things that I'm talking about here today. You know, today, it still feels a bit far-fetched to say oh yeah, I can create a milk that tastes like a unicorn jumping the clouds with a rainbow in the background. But we are already doing that. I tried that product, by the way. I'm not making shit up here for you guys. You know, and it will only evolve. You know, a year from now, I will probably be talking about things that I cannot even conceptualize today, because that's the pace we are learning at NotCo. And just to wrap it up, and I don't know if we fixed the sound. If anyone can give me a sign of no or yes. Yes or no, more or less? I can try. Okay. I just want to show one. So let me go back here and do one last attempt, because it's too funny to not show. Fingers crossed. Oops.
I'm on my way to a focus group for people that hate mayonnaise.
I said I hated mayonnaise, so why would they give me mayonnaise?
I don't like anything with mayonnaise.
So it tastes so bad.
Here we go.
What's it like a sandwich or something, or a salad? Automatic taste.
All right, welcome to the taste test. How are you feeling?
My mission in life is to avoid mayonnaise.
You came in and said we won't be eating mayo, and I don't believe that for a second.
A cheeseburger.
Is that mayo?
I promise you, in my eldest son's life, that is not mayo.
I'm not trying to be a but I'm staring at it, and it's clearly mayonnaise.
1, 2, and 3.
This is mayonnaise.
It's not mayo.
It's definitely mayo.
Tastes like bad memories.
Kind of makes me feel sick.
How do you like the cheeseburger? Give it a lick. How's it taste?
I'm tripping out.
It's mayo. How is it not mayo?
That's not mayo. I promise you this is really not mayo.
That looks like mayonnaise.
You don't look well. You okay?
I'm not doing this no more.
This is sadistic.
It is
This is
sadistic.
sadistic production.
That's not mayo.
Okay.
What's it taste like?
Mayonnaise.
It's lousy. It's
I'm good, thank you.
tight.
Plant-based mayo.
Not mayo.
Why do I care if it's the exact same thing?
It's mayonnaise. This is mayonnaise. This is mayonnaise. This is mayonnaise.
We get it. We get it. Thank you. Guys, I'm glad you like it. And thanks for the guys. I mean, that's one of the downsides of being the first one to present. Like, you end up like getting all the technical glitches, but I really appreciate the quick turnaround so that we could show this one because I thought it would be worth it. Funny, at least I think it's really funny. So just to wrap it up so that we have some time for Q&A, you know, like I really love this cover from The Economist, and it's from April of last year. And look, I mean, I'm Brazilian, so I'm hopeless optimistic about things. And I always saw AI as a key enabler for things. You know, like for sure, as any new technology, we need to have like the right laws in place, the right copyright laws, like the limitations of what can be done, what cannot be done. But that's true to really like anything. If you think about social media or any other trend or Web3, like we all need that. You know, like I do think that AI, though, is very different than many trends that we've heard before. In 2020, when I was here, everyone was talking about metaverse. And I think that one of the things that I said was like, I like metaverse to me is like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I play Second Life. I play World of Warcraft. That to me was the metaverse already like more than 10 years ago. I think Second Life was 20 years ago, actually. So I never felt that there was a real application, right? I remember I was on Activision Blizzard and people would come to me and say, yes, we work on this bank and we are trying to create our bank on the metaverse. And I would look to those people and be like, I don't want to go to your bank in the real life. You know, why the hell I want to go to your bank on the metaverse? So I never saw like a concrete application of utility as a consumer. With AI is very different. You know, I can totally see the application to brands. I can totally see the application in programmatic, which, I mean, many of you guys are on this space, and it's not new news there either. We've been using that for quite some time. So I can see much more pros than cons. I can see AI, and this is also covers, right? I can see AI helping us achieve things that we would not be able to achieve by ourselves. You know, I see AI as an ally, a tool that we humans can use to accomplish things that we would not be able to accomplish otherwise, whether that's in healthcare, food, politics, economy. I see so many applications. So I feel much more positive than negative. And I feel very proud of the work that I see coming from NotCo, you know, like really pushing the boundaries of AI to revolutionize like the food industry, because why not? And this is all I had for you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for the invitation to come again. I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much. Thank you. Did we get some questions?
Yes, we did.
Great.
Thank you, first of all, for your inspiring talk.
Thank you.
I would never have thought I would enjoy seeing people throw up like this.
Yes.
Yes. Well, then, regarding latte art, why can AI generate such outstanding results even with very low amount of training data?
Because the AI learns very fast. You know what I mean? Like on the AI model that we have, you can really optimize for anything. You know, the AI, the artificial intelligence is looking at the numbers and it doesn't even know what the number is, right? I mean, yeah, sure, we label latte art, but latte art was a panel of baristas which would look at the product and play with the product and give a number as a score, you know, like, and that was the feedback that we were giving to the AI. So the AI was able to formulate 5 different recipes, like very different from each other, to try different things and understand the correlation among the variables or the ingredients linked to an output, which was not just latte art. Latte art was one of them, and accomplished the result very quickly. You know, like that's the beauty of the model that we have. You know, like I could have optimized for acidity. I could have optimized for color. I could, like when we did Philadelphia cream cheese, color was a key variable. You know, like, and it's funny because like in some cases we were getting the right texture of the cream, but the product was pink or black. You know, like, so we had to optimize for color. So you can really optimize for anything. The model that we have gives you the flexibility to do that.
Okay, so it sounds like as soon as you translate it into numbers, the AI can work with it and then generate output?
Yeah, and it can manage like much more variables that our human brains can understand, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is actually 4 different questions. We will work our way through it. AI and human chefs combo seems efficient. Why you need human chefs? Won't AI chefs do a better job?
I mean, we need someone to try the food. You know, like the AI, if you really think about it, the AI doesn't even know it's working on food. Like the AI is working on numbers. You know what I mean? Like I think you do need to have a person there to give guidance and feedback to the AI. I also believe that there is also, in life, there is always like a creative component which is important, like which in my view tends to be better served by the combination of data and art, you know, the logic and the magic. So I genuinely believe that there will be always like a human component. Like even when we are doing design, you know, like, so for instance, the design that I showed with the cereal bars, it was inspired by AI. Like we played with AI to get to a design direction that we liked. But then the team of designers, we have a team of designers, takes that and adapts and makes it even better. So it doesn't look like the classic mid-journey output that lots of people are doing too. You know, like I wanted to look different. So I do believe that AI, at least the way I see it, is I see AI as a tool. You know, you still need someone to pilot, to drive, and to play with it.
Okay, so this kind of answers the second part of the question, because the question was, have you retained the human factor due to ethical reasons?
No, we retain because we think it does accomplish a better output. You know, like, and I don't think that today, but I cannot talk. I'm terrible at predicting the future. You know, I remember when someone came to me and said, Fernando, you have to see this social media thing. You go there and you write 130 characters and it's amazing. I'm like, why would anyone want to do that? Like just write on Facebook. And that became Twitter, right? So I couldn't predict that would be a thing. So I don't know, like maybe in the future, I will be proven wrong and it will be all AI and pure AI. I don't see that happening though. Like I see the value in humanity, in the insight, in the creativity, and in the combination of those two things, the AI power with the human creativity, accomplishing a better outcome. Like I think that we do the things the way we do at NotCo because we think that way is the most effective way. Is no Like, of course, that we are an ethical company, but the main driver is because we believe that will lead to a better outcome. Yeah.
Speaking of believing, do you believe that you could train AI a certain taste like we humans have? I mean, it differs from person to person, as we saw with the mayo.
I think that today, I know that there are people out there playing with technology in terms of taste recognition through machine. I think that in the future, AI would be able to predict with a good margin of error whether general population will think that something tastes good or not. You know what I'm saying? But I think that today it's more efficient to do that through the combination of chefs and AI.
Yeah.
You know, and in some cases, you don't necessarily always develop things to cater to the taste of general population, right? I bet that if you go into what's considered to be the best restaurant in Germany, I don't think that general population will necessarily agree that that's the best restaurant in Germany.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so you also need to play a game of differentiation. And again, I think that human creativity can help you accomplish that more so than a model today, than a data model.
Previously, you said something about limits you had imposed on yourselves that you later recognized when you worked with Giuseppe. What could other industries learn of that process, even if they are not into food or anything
Good
else?
question. I think that the main learning for me was when I joined NotCo, the whole philosophy of the company was, maybe it was not written anywhere, but everyone was thinking, oh, we are here to replace the animal in the equation, right? So we were not playing with the equation. We are just replacing one variable, right? We are taking the animal out and we are putting plant-based ingredients in, and we are trying to do that in a way that was economically sound and that delivered the right nutritional profile and the right taste. And that's the way most people approach problems, right? You try to solve for that one variable that you're trying to solve for. I think that what I've learned with AI is that maybe AI can throw the whole equation through the window. You see what I'm saying? So for instance, creating a flavor that doesn't exist is throwing the whole equation through the window because it's not about replacing one ingredient and trying to taste the same, right? So AI allows you to try to think about a color that doesn't exist. So what I would do if I were you is I would invite you to, if you're in a different industry, to take a step back and think about how can you reframe the problem or the whole equation and come maybe with a better solution with AI. Because if you don't do that, I bet that someone else in your industry will, and may get to a competitive advantage against you, and you are not even looking at the industry the same way. You know, so for instance, if you think about gaming, right? If I were in gaming, I would be thinking, how can I create live ops like maps for the games that are infinite? You know, because they are created by AI as you play. You know, it's not anymore like when Fernando used to play Mario, right? They have stage 1, 2, 3, and then you fight Bowser, right? I can create an infinite map. How can I, if I'm working in beauty, how can I accomplish the result that I'm looking for in terms of cleaning, moisturization, or whatever it is, without having to be a cream or a body wash? You know, how can you reframe the equation, take a step back, and try to come up with a solution that is not rooted into the bias of the categories as is, which is what we naturally tend to do.
Okay, so take a step back, get a new co-worker like Giuseppe.
And think of a color that doesn't exist.
Very good. Well then, thank you very much.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Fernando Machado, thank you.
Thank you.